Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back and welcome to Spain. While I'm here, I thought I'd do a quick Q&A session, so let's get started. Andrew Holden, Matt, are used car warranties worth it? Which is the best one? Cheers, Andrew. In my opinion, they're not, Andrew, to be honest. More often than not, they're not worth the paper they're written on. I really try and not sell them, to be honest, because unless somebody really wants one, because most of the time I end up in an argument with the warranty company 3 months down the line when they refuse to pay out for something. So it's like any insurance product. If they can find a way out of paying, they will. Ali Hottie, yo Matt, what's the most reliable diesel car that immediately comes to your mind after reading this question? You need to go for something pre-DPF, so something mid-2000s to late 2000s. It's tricky because they can often go wrong, but at least pre-DPF days, it kind of negates that problem. You can't go wrong with the 2-litre diesel Audi engine, to be honest. Something like a A3, A4, Passat. I know I'll probably get comments now from people telling me that they've had issues, but generally speaking, they're pretty good. Jake Gordon, hi Matt. Number one, if you could change anything about your forecourt, what would it be? Everything. I'd like to knock it down and start again because it's quite a dilapidated old building. 2, if you get another Range Rover Vogue, would you? Yes, definitely. Like the channel, by the way. Cheers, Jake. Yeah, 100%. In fact, by the time this video gets released, you'll have seen my latest purchase, which is another white Range Rover Vogue. Right, Tom T. Looking for an estate car to get to work and to cart the family around at the weekend. I don't want something dull, but not over the top. Something sporty around the 10 to 15 grand mark. What should I get? You know what I've just thought of straight away that you should absolutely get? A Mercedes CLS Estate. I love those. They're quite rare as well. They usually come with loads of spec as standard. I'd get the 3-litre diesel, not the 2.1. And yeah, you've got a really decent car there. Or play it safe and get something like a BMW 530 diesel. Dave Breen. Hey Matt, loved your video with it. It's Joel. Cheers. Have you considered one with Sam's Motor and Machine? This sounds a bit rude now, and I really don't mean for it to be, but I don't know who that is. As bad as it sounds, I don't watch an awful lot of anything, to be honest. I never get time. I don't really watch TV or much YouTube. I'll have to check him out because I assume by the fact that you've asked me whether I would consider a video with him, we might be on the same sort of wavelength or have the same sense of humour, so I'll definitely check that out. William Fence. Hi Matt, do you see people holding on to vehicles longer as the cost of living bites? Will that mean used prices drop back as demand slows? How does that look for traders with money tied up in stock? It's going to be tricky, isn't it? It's going to be tricky. I think what will happen, the same with any kind of recession or any kind of financial issue with the economy, with rising inflation and things like that, people will hold on to the vehicles longer. Having said that, there are a lot more wealthy people around nowadays than even a decade ago. So people, I think there still will be a business out there. It doesn't really concern me. 10 years ago it might have done, but not so much anymore. Anastasios John, hi Matt, any thoughts on the late 2000s Audi S5, the manual in particular? I think they were only manual, John, actually, until they changed to a V6. Always like the look of a lot of car for the money. I need to get one of those on the channel. They're a 4.2 litre naturally aspirated V8, manual gearbox. It's got all the ingredients there to be a proper car, so I should do a video with one of those. In fact, when I get back I might just try and buy one and do a couple of videos with it. Nick Bryant, what would you recommend as the best car after having a Mercedes E-Class Premium Plus 2018? Looking to go for something as nice on the interior but perhaps a bit sportier. Nick, you're out of my price range there, really. I haven't got a clue. Those new E-Classes are nice, aren't they? So don't know what I would suggest. You know what I'd go for? A BMW 6 Series or the new 8 Series Grand Coupe. There you go. Or you might think I'm a bit of a hypocrite now, but maybe a Panamera. I don't like the way they look, but they're certainly sportier than an E-Class. And if you can get past their looks, then they are a great car. Keith Fordyce, hi Matt, not heard anything from you regarding the Range Rover Sport. Just wondering how it's going. Well, I may as well tell you actually, because by the time this video goes out, the other video will have gone out as well. I sold the white Range Rover Sport. I wasn't planning to, but a mate of a mate at the time was looking for one for his missus. So made me an offer. There was a little bit of profit in it for me, so that found a new home. And I've replaced it with something else. So you'll have to go back and check that video out. Visionary, hi Matt, I've got a real soft spot for the BMW 3 Series GT. How far off am I of the plot to think that it's better and more practical than an X4? I don't think you've lost the plot at all. I think the GT BMWs are really good, actually. I used to hate the 5 Series GT until I had one and then changed my mind. And the 3 Series GT, yeah. But then I also like the X4. Neither of those are the most practical cars, but I think I'd personally prefer the raised driving position of the X4. But you can't go wrong with a 3 Series GT. VX471. Hi Matt, loving the content. My question is, BMW M3 Saloon or M4 Coupe? That's a tough one. It depends what you like, really. I think... I don't know, that's a tough one. You're not going to be disappointed, let's face it. I think I'd go for the M3 Saloon, though, to be honest. They're less common. Yeah, I'd go for an M3 Saloon. Reese Collison, what did you do with the Minging black Mercedes that you bought? Bit of a sore subject, that, actually. I sold it to a mate of mine who buys my part exchanges, so he's now currently doing it up, ready to sell. I daren't ask him how he's getting on with it, to be honest. FC, hi Matt, looking to buy a 2009 to 2012 Porsche Cayman or a 2007 to 2010 Porsche 911. Which one would you choose? To be honest, FC, I'd choose neither. I'd have the Boxster instead, because I think the Boxster's the best value. You get 90% of 911 for 50% of the price. So I'd go with the Boxster personally, but if I had to choose between the Cayman and the 911, not a huge Cayman fan, I'd go with the 911. It'll certainly hold its value better. Charles 50 Cal, hi Matt, will we ever see you reviewing a Reliant Robin? Perhaps turn it into a rocket? Would love to see some quirky cars and reviews, thanks. I need to do this kind of thing. I need to do more oddball cars. So yeah, possibly. Possibly. John G, what's the weather like? The weather is, John, glorious. Not a cloud in the sky, 24 degrees, it's just perfect weather. In another month or two it'll be too hot, but right now it's perfect. Naveen Anil, could you elaborate on the reliability of cars with respect to engines and automatic transmissions, petrol? Is Honda underrated in the UK or not as good as Toyota? I would say in terms of reliability it sits just behind Toyota. That's not to say it's not reliable at all. Could I elaborate on the reliability of cars? Even Toyotas go wrong, so I think the trick is to maintain whatever you own. But yeah, certainly if you stick with a Toyota, and if reliability is the only thing that you're concerned about, then yeah, just buy a Toyota, maintain it every year, look after it, and it will just serve you well. The Captain Scarlet, alternatives to the usual small cars for 17 to 25-year-olds. For example, a 10-year-old premium small car, is that a possibility? Yeah, definitely. What I would say is have a look at Audi A1s or Audi A3s. Yeah, that way you get a premium car and you can still choose one with a smaller engine. So yeah, I'd do that. John Brailsford, hi Matt, as somebody who's never visited Spain, what's the used car market like there? Where would you rather trade as a used car dealer, the UK or Spain, and why? Obviously it'd be nice to, I did used to live here, I lived here for nearly 10 years, so I know what it's like to buy and sell cars here and to live here. And it's a great place to live, but it's not the easiest place in the world to make a living. And although the streets in the UK aren't paved with gold, it's easier to get ahead in the UK if you're willing to work for it. Things are easier to get. Credit's easier to get. Mortgages are easier to get. It's just an easier place to get ahead if you're willing to work for it. The used car market in Spain, it's a tricky one. There isn't much of one, to be honest, as daft as that sounds. The UK market is mad, really. There's always a massive demand, but there's always a huge supply as well, until recently, till this microchip shortage. Whereas in Spain, that isn't the case. There's a huge shortage of cars, so prices are always high. Most of the time, cars in Spain are about 30% or 40% higher than they would be in the UK, which you can't get your head around. Sometimes when I'm driving around, you'll see a car parked on the side of the road and it'll be like, I saw an old Shogun the other day that in the UK that would be 1,500 quid, and it was like 6 grand. You just can't get your head around these prices, but once you've paid those prices, that's what it's worth. So when you come to sell it in 2 or 3 years' time, it's still worth 4 grand. It's mad, really. TV sound system, summer here in the UK, if you can call it summer. What's your view on 4-seat convertibles with a £15,000 budget? Straight away, I would choose something like an E-Class Mercedes. Make sure it's an E350 though, or higher if you can. Or a BMW 4 Series. I think I'd go with a 4 Series. Yeah, 4 Series or E-Class, you couldn't go wrong with either of those two. What else is there? You get a 6 Series BMW. I had one of those for about 15 grand. I didn't really bond with mine, to be honest. It was a really nice car. It was a 640 petrol. But yeah, I never really got along with it. Michael Freeland, the most popular car in Spain. That's a weird one, really, because it really varies depending where you go in Spain. You still see a load of old cars here as well. The other day I saw a Renault 11, which I hadn't seen for about 15 years. But yeah, you do see old Escorts and things like that Fiat Unos, things that would have just rotted away anywhere else, but not here. But the most popular car, Seat being a Spanish brand, although it isn't technically, Seats are really popular. They're really common. Something else that's really popular here are Dacias, or Dachas. You see lots of those. Canal Golf Guy, same question as always from me. Best family car for under 25 to 30k? C43 AMG, M3, Porsche Panamera, Golf GTI. If the kids are small, possibly a Merc Coupe. Looks good, sounds good, fast enough to blitz a boy racer in a Corsa off the line. Any of those that you mentioned then, to be honest, what would I choose? I'd probably pick something like an S4 Estate, like an S4 Avant or something. Yeah, S4 Avant, S6 Avant. Christopher James, hi Matt, thoughts on the 991.2 911 GTS? Never had one, never driven one, so I'm not sure. The GTS though, that's always a nice model to go for, regardless of which Porsche it is. I've driven a 991 Targa. I'm not clued up with 911s, to be honest. I did a video with it. I was impressed with that one, to be honest, mostly. So yeah, I imagine a GTS would be quite a nice car. Thanks for the chance, Matt. Mine's pretty easy. Estate, tourer or family car that maybe doubles as a future classic, probably a diesel. I think you'll struggle to get a diesel to reach classic status, to be honest. I'm after an Alfa 159 versus a Jag XF up to 2015. Any recommendations? Definitely an XF, 100%. I think the XF shooting brake's a really great looking car. Try and get it in Italian Racing Red or something and it's just a gorgeous thing. Finley Plimpton, that's a cool name. Review a Suzuki Celerio, please. We've got one in stock actually, but I didn't think anyone would be interested in a Suzuki Celeriac, whatever they're called. Maybe I will. Let's see. Liam Sink, how do you think used prices will go over the next 6 months? Who knows? I haven't got a crystal ball. I don't know. I get asked that question all the time. I'm really not sure. I can't see them dropping, to be honest, because the supply just isn't there. And until that supply flows back into the market, they'll remain high. So I think for the next 10 to 12 months, I think they'll still be fairly high. And I don't think it won't be like switching on a tap. They won't just suddenly plummet overnight. I think it will take months for the market to settle. And to be honest with you, I don't think it will ever drop to the sort of pre-COVID prices. But who knows? Nobody could anticipate this happening, could they? So, not sure. Finley Plimpton, do you like 80s Citroens and ABBA? It's an unusual question. Metal Mikey, what do you think about buying old cars with not many left as an investment? Recently I read that the Ford Probe are down to around 600 and I've seen a great looking one on eBay for just over 2 grand. I decided the Probe was unspectacular in every aspect, but what about something else for a few grand? Stick in Squire. Right, that's a good idea, to be honest. Something like a Probe. I know they weren't great cars, but I can't remember the last time I saw one. My neighbour had one. I think it was a P-Reg growing up, so 96, 97. And yeah, I honestly can't remember the last time I saw one. So something like that you couldn't go wrong with. I think in terms of buying a car to keep as a classic, you're better picking a convertible or a coupe as opposed to an ordinary saloon car. I just think they'll always have a bit more appeal. I think if I wanted a future classic that I could use and enjoy, I'd pick something like an E46 330 convertible, because they're great to drive, they're still fairly modern, but in 10 years or so it'll be a classic. But yeah, for a couple of grand, you can't really go wrong with a Probe or a Cougar or a Puma even, I don't know. Awas Chowdhury, rank these manufacturers: BMW, Mercedes, Audi. You've done it for me. Awas Chowdhury again, hi, looking for a first car for around £1,000. What do you think of the Fiat Grande Punto? Love the car salesman stories, by the way, keep them coming. They're not great cars, to be honest. They're not very reliable, certainly in my experience. They're okay, but you can have issues with power steering. They're just very flimsy and very poorly built. They always seem to have oil leaks because the sump's made from tracing paper. the poor. You're better off with a Toyota Aygo or something. But if you want more car, then I suppose for £1,000 you can't really go wrong. Frog 480. Hi Matt, what do you think of the Ineos Grenadier? I'm not a fan, to be honest. I don't know why everyone's getting so excited about it. It's a Land Rover rip-off, and it amazes me how quickly people can be so disloyal to the Land Rover brand. People that call themselves die-hard Land Rover fans, and yet they're suddenly about to go and spend £50,000 on some unknown product. There's no saying that this is going to be any more reliable than a Land Rover. It looks like, I think it reminds me of what's it called? You see them in Spain a lot. The telephone companies and electric companies use them. The Santana, which was a Land Rover Defender remake, a Spanish remake. They bought the molds for them or the license for them or whatever. So I don't think it's a great looking car. It just looks like a Chinese Defender. You know those memes that you see? Mom, I really want a Defender. We've got a Defender at home. The Ineos Grenadier is the Defender at home. I've got to interrupt to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark, who are a VPN service provider. If you haven't heard of Surfshark, they're definitely worth checking out because it just helps to keep you safe while you're online. Whether you're doing online banking or online shopping, they will protect you. Surfshark encrypts all your data both to and from your devices, and it hides your IP address so cyber thieves can't view it. But in my opinion, the best feature of Surfshark, which is what I use it for all the time, especially when I'm here in Spain, is this. Watch this. If I go onto netflix.com, it knows that I'm in Spain and it will take me to the Spanish side. So I can't watch my favourite shows from the UK or the US. I can change my location settings and then it thinks I'm in the UK. Then all of a sudden, I can watch my favourite TV shows. That's what I mainly use Surfshark for. I think it's a great feature. But in addition to that, it also blocks malware, phishing, ads and other kinds of nastiness, which in turn can speed up your bandwidth, make your device run much more quickly. You can download the app very easily from the App Store and you can use it on a limited number of devices. We're all online a huge amount of time these days and you just don't know how much information you're putting out there, so it's better to be protected. Especially if you frequently use public Wi-Fi spots such as at fast food restaurants, train stations, airports, that kind of thing. The last thing I want to do is get my account hacked into or my credit card details stolen, and since I've been using Surfshark, touch wood, that just hasn't happened. If you use the link below, which is surfshark.deals/highpeakautos, and use the promo code highpeakautos, they'll give you 83% off and 3 months totally free. We're talking a couple of quid a month here, so don't think it's a big expensive commitment because it really isn't. So if you do online banking, online shopping, or you just want to watch one of your favourite TV shows from the UK while you're on holiday, then definitely check out Surfshark. The link is in the video description below, and don't forget to use the promo code highpeakautos. Right, on to the next question. Tom SMT, what would your advice be on getting a 2013 onwards Mercedes A180 as a first car? I think the only limiting factor would be getting insured at 17, but I'd love to know your opinion. I know people slate these, probably me included, because it has the 1.5 litre Renault engine, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you change the timing belt and look after them, they can do hundreds of thousands of miles. They can also have blown turbos at 50, but same with any car, to be honest. As a first car though, I mean, if you can get insured on one, then that would be a cracking first car. Crypto M, how much of your net worth or salary should someone spend on a vehicle? Also, with regards to car finance, what would be a sensible monthly figure based upon a UK average salary? Do you think people tend to spend a lot more than they can afford on cars? I do. I'm probably not the person to ask. Yeah, every time I buy a car, I think, wow, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I would say if the average salary in the UK is about £30,000, then you shouldn't spend more than £300 a month on a car finance agreement. I don't know. I'm certainly no financial expert. Defunkster, what's your favourite car in a movie or TV show? Have you ever considered buying or importing that type of vehicle? There've been loads, haven't there? Because I'm a bit of a Range Rover fanboy, something like the yellow Range Rover, I think, is it called the Borrego edition from the film Layer Cake with Daniel Craig? Something like that. Basically any film that features a Range Rover, P38 or any, to be fair. Peter has asked me, Peter, wouldn't you like to live permanently in Spain? Yes, I would. Yes, I have. It's beautiful. I love coming here. I love coming to visit. As soon as I get off the plane at Malaga Airport, I feel like I'm me again. I feel stress-free. I forget that I'm a used car dealer. I forget that I've got a business. And because I used to live here, I know the streets like the back of my hand. I know where to go. Everything just feels like I'm home, basically. I completely forget that I've got another life in the UK. So yes, I would move back here one day. I think it'd have to be when I don't need to earn a living, because as I've mentioned previously, it's quite difficult to earn a living here. So yes, I would, but probably just retire. And even then, I think there's only so much golf you can play and only so many beers you can drink. So I think I'd probably like to do month on, month off or something. You know, mix it with somewhere else. Maybe the UK, maybe somewhere else. I don't know. But it certainly does have a lot to offer. Murdo Liston, as a home mechanic thinking about buying a non-runner to fix up and sell, you're brave, hopefully for a small profit, what would you say are the best cars to look out for with a budget of £1,000? Are you talking £1,000, the full budget, or £1,000 to buy? I don't know. I don't know what your talents are, to be honest. I don't know how skilled you are. That's a tricky one. I haven't really got an answer for that. And also beware, because a lot of adverts that you see that say spares or repairs just needs an MOT. People aren't stupid. More often than not, they'll have tried to get it through an MOT and it'll fail on a bunch of stuff. So, you know, just have your wits about you. Ronnie has asked, would you do an undercover dealer investigations for dealerships with shoddy practices and bad reviews online? Maybe then give us your rating of their dealership. You'd be doing a public service. No, I don't like the idea of that. It's a bit bit snakish. I wouldn't bring myself to do it. Also, reviews aren't the full story. I've been left a couple of stinkers recently and I don't feel like I deserve them. Anyway, the next one, correct answer has asked, which car brand attracts the worst drivers, do you think? 100% now, I didn't even need to think. Nissan Juke, Nissan Qashqai, they're the worst drivers on the road. Shortly followed by Toyota Yaris's and Nissan Notes, Nissan Micras. Without sounding ageist, anything that you'd see a 80-year-old woman driving. Quite often I'll be at work and I'll be on the forecourt putting new number plates on or whatever I'm doing, and I'll hear something go past, and I'll look up because I'll hear the clutch screaming for life, and it'll be a Jazz driven by somebody who's 106. So apart from the age thing, I would definitely say a Duke or Qashqai. They're just clueless most of the time, which is why they bought a Duke or a Qashqai. Stephen Phillips. Hi Matt, what's your view on the BMW GT range? I'm strangely attracted to the 5 Series version and some great deals to be had. Loving the channel, by the way. Cheers, Stephen. I think they're great. Go back and watch my video on it if you haven't seen it. I think it was a 2009 or 10 530 diesel GT. I thought it was wicked. I was really genuinely impressed with that car. If you can get past the styling, which you obviously are, I think that they do have a lot to offer. Practical, good to drive, nice to be in. So yeah, no, I'm a fan. Viper has asked, what's your opinion of the future of diesel cars with the incoming emission zones and stupid price of diesel fuel? I've never been a fan of diesel. Even 15 years ago, in the mid to late 2000s, when everybody was jumping on the diesel bandwagon, I was never a fan. Just never liked the noise of them, the smell of them. I don't like them. I think they're unreliable, more unreliable than petrols. So personally, I just stick with petrol. Unless you do 20,000 miles a year, they don't make sense anyway, financially or otherwise. So I just stick with petrol. For example, I've just bought a Range Rover, and I've always had diesel Range Rovers because they make more sense, because they're better on fuel and you get more torque and things. But with this one, I've gone with the petrol because I know I'm only going to do 5,000 or 6,000 miles a year in it, and I can't be bothered having clogged DPFs, EGRs, turbos blown. I can't be bothered with any of that. So I'm just going to suffer the 5 or 6 miles per gallon less and just get on with it. 3945 HP has asked, what's your view on the introduction of EVs? I don't think it's the future. I'm not completely sold on the idea. I don't know. To be fair, everyone I've driven I've been fairly impressed with, but the range is an issue. I know they're getting better, but it's still an issue. And the infrastructure just isn't there. So I think we're being rushed into it. I think we're being forced into it. And I'm not a fan. I'm going to cling on to my petrols for as long as possible. Marcos Simpson has asked, what's the best car to quickly and efficiently bring home a takeaway in? Stable enough to not get masala sauce spilling, but peppy enough so that the lads in the golf club don't take the piss when you arrive. More often than not, delivery drivers are always in an old Yaris, so I'm guessing if it works for them, it might work for you. So yeah, maybe try that. Vamoose has asked, how did you start your business and how long before you started making money? That's the good thing with the car business, to be honest, because you'll make money straight away. From the very first car I bought and sold off this driveway 15 years ago, to starting my own business. I've never, in fact that's not true, 2 months ago I had a poor month, but generally speaking I've never had a month where I've lost money, even the first month. So straight away. It's not as if it's a restaurant or a shop where you've got to start kind of build up this reputation. You're advertising something, somebody will want it and they'll buy it, so you'll make money straight away. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's less risky than than a lot of businesses. I often see this whenever I'm in a restaurant or a shop or something. I look around and think, God, somebody spent £100,000 decking this restaurant out. That's before they make a single penny. And then if the chef undercooks my chicken or something, I'm going to leave a bad review. So it's so risky. Whereas if you spent £100,000, not that you'd have to, but just extending that example, if you spent £100,000 on cars, you've got £100,000 of cars. The worst case, if you got a couple of them wrong, you might have £98,000 worth of cars, but you can't go too far wrong. You've still got a tangible, physical asset there that you can sell. Whereas with the restaurant or shop, it's risky. Stop UFO Fakes has asked, have I ever seen the same seagull twice? I think this should be covered in the video, please. Well, your wish is granted, it has been covered in the video. No idea. Max Gilbert, for a family man in his mid-30s who wants to enjoy his car, but have as few problems as possible over the next 3 to 4 years, what's the sweet spot range of mileage on a used car? There's no right or wrong answer for that, to be honest, because you could have a car that's only done 40,000 miles that's not been maintained properly, that could cost you quite a lot of money in the next 20,000 miles, or you could have something with 80,000 miles on the clock that's been maintained well. I would say anything under 50 you should be okay, but just do your homework, check the history, make sure it's been looked after. The Sam CD27 has asked, after taking the plunge on a Jaguar XF after your video review, and with your passion for Range Rovers, how do you see the future of JLR? Thanks for great content, Sam. Well, good choice with the XF, Sam, for starters. Secondly, how do I see the future of Jaguar Land Rover? Not sure. I'm a huge fan of the brand, obviously. There are certain things that they do, or certain models that they release or don't release, that I just think I can't understand that. For example, there's no XK anymore, there's no XJ anymore. I don't know why. The new Defender, I know it's been a success, but they need to widen that range and make a more commercial, rugged version that's a bit cheaper, I think. If I were in charge of the company, I would widen the range and work on reliability issues. Going forward, I suspect they're just going to make everything EV and that'll be the end of it. Stephen, are PCP deals worth it when you end up with nothing to show for it at the end of the term? I can't get my head around a PCP deal, to be honest. I know it looks more enticing, doesn't it, when you've just got a low monthly figure? But I'm a bit old-fashioned. I like to have something to show for my money. Even if it's an HP deal where at least at the end of the term you own the car. I don't like the idea of PCP. But, it works for some people, so. Luke Murley, what's your favourite tank? The shooty kind, not the petrol-containing kind. That's a bit of a strange question. I'm going to say, because I'm patriotic, a Crusader. Michael Cook, are there any cars you see in Spain that we don't see in the UK? Yeah, lots actually. Lots. As I mentioned earlier, there are still loads of older cars on the road here. Like this morning I saw an Opel Frontera. You remember the last time you saw a Frontera in the UK? They've all rotted away. Not that that's anything to be excited about, an old Frontera. There are also some new cars that you see as well, such as the Renault Talisman, the Renault Alaskan. Don't know why I'm just mentioning Renaults. Can't think of any more, but there are quite a few cars that you don't see in the UK. You also, because we're left-hand drive here in Spain, you see a lot of American imported cars as well, which is always interesting to see because you don't see them that often in the UK. For example, somebody on the neighbouring urbanisation has got a Plymouth Prowler, which you occasionally see. And they've also got I think it's the same guy, because I assume you would have a weird taste in cars like that. What's it called? I think it's a Chevrolet pickup truck, but it's a single cab pickup truck that the roof comes off. Can't think of it. I'll have to Google that and add the picture in while I'm editing. Ramon, are you willing to cover more Alfa Romeos? It'd be very interesting to hear your opinion on them. Yes, definitely. They're quite rare, so I tend to just usually film with cars that I own because there are less risks than if I damage it, it's my own problem, things like that, as opposed to borrowing a car from somebody. And I don't buy that many Alfas, not through choice, but just they're not out there. So yeah, I'll have to try and get hold of some more. I am quite a fan of the brand, to be honest. I definitely want to get hold of a Stelvio and a Giulia. So we'll see. J Christie 909. I know you said if a car is maintained properly, it's never truly unreliable. But are there any makes or models that you would say there's just no hope for? It's a tricky one, this reliability. I always preach, just buy the car that you want, that makes you happy, and maintain it properly, and just fix it when it breaks, basically. If you're after outright reliability, then you're better off with a Toyota or a Honda. But it still needs maintenance. You can't just run it into the ground. In terms of makes or models that there's just no hope for, I'd say Peugeot and Citroen. I detest those cars because on the whole, they're garbage. Apart from I quite like the Peugeot RCZ and I quite like the, what's it called? The Cactus, the Citroen Cactus. I quite like those, but I still don't think they'll be all that reliable. Kevin McKinney has asked, W164ML, thumbs up or thumbs down? W164, which one's that? W164. Oh, no, I don't like those, to be honest. I like the one that, I like its predecessor and I like its successor, but that era, I don't rate them at all. I've had loads of issues personally. They don't drive particularly nice, the steering wheel buttons are sticky, the Alcantara bubbles, the EGRs clog, the turbos fail, timing chains, no. Gearboxes, no, forget it. Forget it. What I would advise though is go for a later one, so a 2012 onwards. James Lloyd Cole, I like videos on cars like that horrific A-Class you bought recently. Actually, I enjoyed it more than the Bentley video, believe it or not. Is that a question or? No question there. But thank you, James Lloyd Cole. I shall do more. Skipper FPS. How's the car market in Spain compared to the UK? I touched on this before. Cars are ridiculously expensive over here. The paperwork's ridiculous. Just to do a name change, you've got to go to a lawyer's office and pay a tax. I think it's a percentage of the car. Well, I don't think, I know, because I've done it plenty of times. You pay a percentage of what the car is worth. Not a percentage of what you sell it for, a percentage of what the government think it's worth. It's all a bit of a con, really. Brian, what's your dream way of making a living? Number 2, dream country to live in. Number 3, dream daily and dream weekend car. What's your dream way of making a living? I'm quite enjoying doing what I'm doing, to be honest. Number 2, dream country to live in. Somewhere warm. I love the warm weather. I love waking up to a blue sky. It just makes you feel better. So somewhere warm. Spain or California or, well, there are loads of places, aren't there? Number 3, dream daily and dream weekend car. Probably a new shape Bentley Continental. Probably a convertible, because why not? Especially if I was living in somewhere, you know, with a warm climate. Dream daily. I'm going to say Range Rover. I know I'm boring and predictable, but Range Rover. Simon, have you ever had to get solicitors involved in a customer complaint or a warranty gone awry? If so, what's the story? Or if not, how close has it come? No, I've never had to. No, I've never been taken to court. No. I got taken to court once. This doesn't relate to cars, to be honest. I got taken to court once to a small claims court. I was renting this place out. So I had it on, it wasn't Airbnb, it was, I think it was called Home Away, the website. I don't even know if it's still available anymore. I was renting this place out. We don't bother doing it anymore because it's more hassle than it's worth. I was renting this place out and an old guy rented it with his missus. I think he was in his 70s or 80s. And it was in February. And anyone who knows this area of Spain in February, the weather can be bad. It can be 8-9 degrees. It's not as bad as the UK, but it's not great, not warm. Anyway, rented it for a week, and I think I charged him something like £250 or £300 for the week. It wasn't expensive, it wasn't a lot of money. And within a day he complained that the fridge had broken, which in fairness it had, but I didn't realise. It must have just failed before he checked in. So within 24 hours I got a friend of mine here who used to do key holding for us. I sent them out, or I asked them out to go and get a new fridge, so they dropped off a brand new fridge, so that was fine. Then he complained that there weren't enough blankets or radiators, and there were blankets and radiators in every room. And what else was it? Something else kind of pathetic. He said his wife was too cold and couldn't keep warm and all this sort of stuff. So after 2 days he checked out. And that I thought was the end of it. Then I got a letter through to say he was taking me to court. And in the end I think we agreed to give, I think I gave him half of his money back or something. It was pathetic, really. And that was about 10 years ago. That was before I dealt with the public on a daily basis. Should have known, shouldn't I? Well, I think that's about it. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know below and I'll do my best to get back to you. So yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.